A lot of people out there believe you have failed in the free agent market, and then obviously with the Keon Coleman Stein. I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. He's taking heat over it and not saying a word about it, but I'm here to tell you the true story. This is when it became the blame game. Their owner is just throwing a young player under the bus like that. Like, why are we doing this? At this point, I know many of my subscribers are going to say that this has become a Buffalo Bills channel, but I need to update you guys on the Sean McDermott situation because things have gotten absolutely crazy in Buffalo. Just when I thought this story was over, Terry Pegula and Brandon Beane held a press conference yesterday. And what happened during that press conference has the entire NFL world going insane because it looks like the Buffalo Bills front office is trying to throw their head coach while their ex-head coach under the bus. And we have the receipts to prove they're lying. So here's what happened. During the press conference, a reporter asked Brandon Beane about the perception that he hasn't done enough to provide Josh Allen with weapons at wide receiver. And specifically, they mentioned Keon Coleman, the second-round pick from 2024, who has been a complete disappointment. Now, guys, this is a classic trap question. I mean, anyone with media training would know how to answer this properly. You would just say that you have faith in Keon Coleman developing in the future and you'd move on. But before Beane could even answer the question, Terry Pegula, the owner of the Buffalo Bills, literally interrupted him and said this. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. So, yeah, guys, you heard that right. The owner of the Buffalo Bills just publicly blamed Sean McDermott, the guy they just fired for the Keon Coleman pick. He's literally saying that the coaching staff pushed for Coleman and Beane was just being a team player by going along with it. This is the owner trying to protect his GM by throwing their ex-head coach under the bus. And to make it even more wild, bro, Keon Coleman is still on the roster. He has 2 years left on his rookie deal. So now this dude has to go to work knowing that the owner of his team just said that the GM never really wanted him. How do you think that's going to go over in the locker room? But here's where the story gets absolutely insane. Because within minutes of Pegula making that statement, NFL fans started pulling out receipts, and those receipts completely contradict what Pegula just said. You see, the Bills themselves released a behind-the-scenes video after the 2024 draft showing their entire draft process. And in that video, Brandon Beane couldn't have been more clear that he wanted Keon Coleman. This wasn't McDermott's guy. This was Beane's guy. And we have the video to prove it. It's Keon. We didn't feel anything was attractive enough for us to pass up on Keon. It started at the scouting combine. Keon Coleman met with the Bills staff, and Beane came away impressed with him as both a player and a person. In the video, Beane literally tells Coleman, "You're smart, you know ball, and you're quite a character." Then, on the field at the combine, Coleman ran a slower-than-expected 40 time, a 4.61, which is pretty slow for a receiver. And you know what Beane said? He said he was happy about it because it would make Coleman drop on other teams' draft boards, so the Bills would have a higher chance to get him. That doesn't sound like a guy who's being pressured by his coaching staff. That sounds like a guy who really wants this player. But it gets even better. In the same video, Beane said that when he went to bed after the first day of the draft, he knew he was going to take Coleman unless someone blew him away with a trade offer. When I went to bed that night, I was like, it's Keon unless someone just blows us away. So let me get this straight. Brandon Beane on camera in a video that the Bills themselves released said he went to bed knowing he was going to draft Keon Coleman. He said he was happy that Coleman ran a slow 40 because it would help the Bills get him. And now, 2 years later, Terry Pegula is standing at a podium saying that the coaching staff pushed for Coleman and Beane was just being a team player. Guys, do you remember during the 2024 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills traded down twice to get Keon Coleman? This is a lie, you guys. This is the front office trying to protect themselves by blaming a guy who can't defend himself because they just fired him. Now, to his credit, Beane did try to walk this back a little bit later in the press conference. He said, "It was my pick. I made the pick." Terry's point was that we might have had a different order of personnel versus coaching, and I went that way. But ultimately, I'm not turning in a pick for a player that I don't think we can succeed with. So don't misunderstand that. And this should make Buffalo Bills fans just feel so optimistic about the future. I mean, you literally are watching a press conference that shows you point blank how dysfunctional this front office is. I mean, bear in mind the Bills were mediocre for years before Sean McDermott got there. And Brandon Beane just so happened to luck out on drafting a project quarterback in Josh Allen, which, by the way, looked terrible until the coaching staff developed him. So, which is it? Did the coaching staff push for Coleman and Beane was just being a team player? Or was it Beane's pick like he literally just admitted? Because you can't have it both ways. Either you wanted the guy or you didn't. And we have video evidence of you saying you wanted the guy. The only reason Pegula is even bringing this up is because Coleman has been a disappointment and someone needs to take the blame. And since McDermott got fired, he's the perfect scapegoat. But again, this is not even the right way to answer this question, which should indicate how dysfunctional this organization truly is. Now, this brings me to the real question that everyone should be asking. Did the Buffalo Bills fire the wrong guy? Because when you look at the evidence, there's a very strong argument that Brandon Beane deserves just as much, if not more, blame for the Bills' failures as Sean McDermott does. Let's look at the facts. Since drafting Josh Allen in 2018, the Bills have drafted 56 players. Only 2 of them have made Pro Bowls, James Cook and Dawson Knox. That's it. 56 players, 2 Pro Bowlers in 7 years of drafting. That is an absolutely pathetic hit rate, especially when you consider that this team is supposed to be building a Super Bowl contender around Josh Allen. Let's talk about some of the misses. Kaiir Elam, the first-round pick in 2022, the Bills traded up to get him. He played in 29 games over 3 years, had just 2 interceptions, and was cut before the 2025 season. Complete bust. Cody Ford, second-round pick in 2019, they traded up to get him too. He was supposed to be the right tackle of the future. He got benched in 2021 and was traded for a 5th-round pick. Boogie Basham, second-round pick in 2021, barely played his first year, never developed, got traded to the Giants for basically nothing. And now Keon Coleman, who might be the most disappointing of them all, considering how badly the Buffalo Bills needed a number 1 receiver. And here's the thing that really gets me. Brandon Beane has never dedicated a first-round pick to the wide receiver position in his entire tenure. Not once. They traded a first-round pick for Stephon Diggs, which was a great move. And then you remember that first-round pick ended up becoming Justin Jefferson. The Bills have drafted only 1 non-day 3 receiver during Beane's reign, and that's Keon Coleman. In 2023, the Bills used a 5th-round pick on Justin Shorter 27 picks before Puka Nacua went to the Rams. Nacua is now one of the best receivers in the league. Shorter never played a game for Buffalo. That's the kind of roster construction we're talking about here. And that's before we get into other stories that just indicate that Brandon Beane is a very incompetent general manager. I mean, let's talk about the Darius Slay situation because this perfectly encapsulates how badly Beane has managed this roster. In early December, the Bills claimed Darius Slay off of waivers. To make room for him, they had to waive a player named Jamarcus Ingram. Now, Jamarcus Ingram, for those of you guys that don't know, is a versatile DB who had been contributing. Well, here's the problem. Slay refused to play for the Bills. He had no intention of suiting up for them. So now the Bills are stuck with a guy who won't play. And Jamarcus Ingram, he got claimed by the Houston Texans. The Bills lost both players because of this move. Beane's explanation was when we claimed Darius Slay, we had no idea that he had the intent to only play for one team. Bro, it's your job to know that. Say the wrong guy was fired, and that would be an indictment more on the roster than on the coaching. What would you say about the roster and the people that think this roster is not good enough and that's why this team has fallen short? Matt, like I believe in our players, okay? Is there things that I can do better? Yes. We're always looking to improve our roster. Back to the Darius Slay thing. It's a 12-month process. I'm always going to defend our players. Okay. I'm not going to sit up here. It's up to Terry to decide who's the head coach, who's the GM of the Buffalo Sabres, the Buffalo Bills. You'd have to ask him on the decision he made. You're the general manager. You're telling me you didn't call up Darius Slay and say, "Hey, Darius Slay, we are fully intent on claiming you in waivers." You didn't even make that phone call before you were forced to cut another player. And the replacement they brought in, Darnell Savage, gave up a 29 YD touchdown in the divisional round against Denver. So this is a little bit of a stretch, but yes, you could kind of make an argument that this one tiny piece of mismanagement resulted in the Buffalo Bills losing to the Denver Broncos. Although, I will admit it is a little bit of a reach, but you can still make an argument. So here's the million-dollar question. Even if we all agree that Sean McDermott wasn't the problem, or at least wasn't the only problem, is there actually an upgrade available on the coaching carousel? Because that's really what this comes down to. If there's no one better out there, then firing McDermott was pointless. John Harbaugh's already gone to the Giants. Kevin Stefanski is in Atlanta. The 2 most proven commodities are off the board. So, who's left? Joe Brady, their own offensive coordinator. Brian Daboll, who is credited for developing Josh Allen but had 3 terrible years with the Giants. Robert Saleh is already on the Tennessee Titans. Sean McDermott went 98-50 with the Bills. His .662 winning percentage is the 15th best in NFL history. He made the playoffs in 8 of 9 seasons. Yes, he never got to the Super Bowl, but how much of that is on the coaching and how much of that is on the roster construction? If Josh Allen had a true number 1 receiver, maybe the close games end differently. If the defense had better quarterbacks than Kaiir Elam and Darnell Savage, maybe they win against Kansas City and Denver. The coaching is only as good as the players you give them to work with. And to Sean McDermott's credit, being able to win with Josh Allen and 2 additional Pro Bowlers is a hell of an achievement. Let me tell you what really bothers me about this entire situation. Sean McDermott's final act as the Bills' head coach was to defend his players and defend his city. Remember what he said after the controversial interception call? If it is ruled that way, then why wasn't it slowed down? Just to make sure that we have this right. That would have made a lot of sense to me to make sure that we have this thing right because that's a pivotal play in the game. We have the ball at the 20, maybe kicking a game-winning field goal right there. But I'm saying it because I'm standing up for Buffalo. Damn it, I'm standing up for us because what went on that is not how it should go down in my estimation. That play, these guys spend 3 hours out there playing football, pouring their guts out to not even say, hey, let's just slow this thing down. That's why I'm bothering. Let's just say that. And I'm being objective, even if it wasn't. The players are owed to me. Hey, let's stop it. Let's slow it down. Let's put the head referee and give him a chance to look at the monitor just to make sure. That's a guy who genuinely cared about this team and this community. And now, 3 days later, his own front office is throwing him under the bus and blaming him for draft picks that the GM himself said he wanted. The players loved Sean McDermott. Jordan Phillips called the firing so stupid that it's honestly sickening and said he was the best coach I've ever been around. Taron Johnson posted SMH. An unnamed player called it bull. These are the guys who played for McDermott, and they're devastated that he's gone. Meanwhile, Brandon Beane is in a press conference letting his owner lie about draft picks while he stands there and says nothing. So, here's my final take on this whole mess. Did the Bills fire the wrong guy? Abso-freaking-utely. As a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, and just seeing what incompetent head coaching looks like and what it could do to a team, having a head coach that built a culture that's consistently keeping you in playoff contention is a head coach that you should hold on to. At the very least, they should have fired both or kept both. You can't fire the coach for not winning a Super Bowl while promoting the general manager who failed to build a roster capable of winning one. That is insane. And the fact that Pegula is out here lying about draft picks to protect Beane makes it even worse. Sean McDermott had a .662 winning percentage. He made the playoffs 8 times in 9 years. He brought stability and success to a franchise that had been a laughingstock for nearly 2 decades. Was he perfect? No. Did he make mistakes in big moments? Absolutely. But he was working with a roster that had no true number 1 receiver, had tons of holes defensively, and a cap situation that made it nearly impossible to add talent in free agency. Those are all things that fall on the general manager. The Buffalo Bills are trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want to blame McDermott for not winning a Super Bowl while ignoring the fact that Brandon Beane never gave him the tools to do it. And now they're going to hire some new coach, give them the same flawed roster, and expect different results. Honestly, good luck with that. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.